At 84 years old, I still remember waking up one morning and wondering whether I'd ever feel truly alive again. My back ached, my knees felt stiff, and even the simplest tasks, like getting out of bed or climbing a short flight of stairs, seemed to drain me of whatever energy I had left. It felt as though each new sunrise was a reminder that my best days were behind me. But here's the surprise. I now feel younger, stronger, and more energized than I did at 65 or even 45. It didn't require drastic changes or expensive treatments. Instead, it began with 2 minutes. 2 simple minutes every single day that transformed my outlook, revived my energy, and gave me back a sense of vitality I thought was lost forever. You may be skeptical. You might think there's no way such a tiny slice of time could shift the heaviness you feel when you wake up, or the stiffness in your joints, or that midday slump that hits when you just want to lie down. After all, we've been told our entire lives that aging is an unalterable downhill journey. But I'm here to tell you there's a different path. And it starts with the decision that 2 minutes of simple, focused effort can be enough to spark positive change you can feel throughout the day. You may be asking how such a small window of time could have a meaningful impact. I wondered the same thing. I was used to hearing that only big commitments led to real results. Yet I discovered that consistency and the right kind of movement were far more powerful than I'd ever imagined. The first morning I tried this, I didn't expect much. My hips felt creaky, my lower back was in a knot, and I had already convinced myself that feeling tired was just the price of living in my 80s. I decided to start slowly and gently because I could handle 2 minutes even on a bad day. I stood next to my bed, took a few deep breaths, then rolled my shoulders backward in small, rhythmic circles. Each rotation felt like it was shaking off a layer of stiffness. Next, I tilted my head from side to side, letting the tension release along my neck. I did a slight bend in my knees, just enough to wake them up without forcing anything painful. It was over in what felt like an instant, but I felt an unexpected warmth spreading through my body, as if my blood flow had finally turned on for the day. That warmth stayed with me, and I noticed I wasn't groaning as loudly when I made my way to the kitchen for breakfast. The next day I did the same thing, but I added a couple of deeper breaths, inhaling through my nose and letting my belly expand, then exhaling slowly through my mouth. By the end of those 2 minutes, my head felt clearer, as though a fog had lifted. Over the weeks that followed, I found I could adapt these tiny sessions to focus on whichever part of my body felt the most tension. Sometimes my wrists, sometimes my ankles, sometimes my stiff shoulders. Bit by bit, I was reclaiming mobility, feeling more engaged with my physical self. One morning I realized I was no longer dreading the act of standing up. My joints had loosened. My muscles remembered how to move without making me wince. You might be thinking that 2 minutes isn't going to rebuild decades of lost strength. That's true, but 2 minutes done daily is a pivot point, a gentle reminder to your body that you're still here, still ready to move, and still open to growth. When you nurture that readiness day after day, it becomes part of you. Some people see this as a stepping stone and eventually expand to 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or even a short walk once they feel more confident. But you don't have to. As long as you keep showing up in those 2 minutes, your body will keep responding. I'd like to talk for a moment about the skepticism that held me back for so long. Growing older in our society often means hearing discouraging messages that make us feel fragile or past our prime. We see ads for countless pills, treatments, or elaborate exercise programs that promise miracles. It's easy to get lost in that sea of solutions and decide to do nothing at all. 2-minute habits break through that confusion by being so simple and accessible that it's nearly impossible to come up with an excuse not to do them. They also cost nothing and can be done anywhere, whether in your bedroom, your living room, or even seated on a park bench. When I first started telling my neighbor Harriet about my little routine, she chuckled. She'd tried yoga classes, physical therapy sessions, and a few home fitness gadgets that ended up collecting dust. None of it stuck. I suggested she just try these micro routines for a week and see what happened. She confessed that getting out of her favorite chair in the afternoon felt like a chore, and she was certain 2 minutes of gentle stretching wouldn't fix that. But she gave it a chance. Every afternoon around 3, she set a timer for 2 minutes. She'd stand, circle her arms, flex her calves, then roll her neck a few times, mixing in slow, measured breaths. The first couple of times she admitted it felt too easy to be effective, but after a few days, she told me that her ankles and knees felt less rigid when she stood up. She even found herself dancing in her kitchen one evening when an old favorite song came on the radio. That was something she hadn't done in years. If you're watching this and finding it resonates with your own struggles, leave a quick comment below. Let me know you're still here, still open to the possibility of feeling revitalized, no matter what your birth certificate says. And if you're just joining this conversation for the first time, consider subscribing. It's a simple way to stay connected with tips and experiences from people who refuse to believe that aging demands a life of pain and exhaustion. Let's talk about the principle behind these quick routines. The human body was designed to move regularly. In youth, we might have run after kids or walked around the block without thinking of it as exercise. As the years stack up, daily activity often decreases. We sit more, watch more TV, or rest because of the aches and pains that flare up whenever we push too hard. Our circulation slows, our muscles weaken, and our posture deteriorates. Over time, that feeds into a cycle. The less we move, the more it hurts when we finally do. 2-minute habits break that cycle by assuring your body that it's safe and actually beneficial to move in small, controlled ways. You're reintroducing movement as a friend rather than a threat. Another key aspect is breathing. Shallow breathing is incredibly common, especially when we're tense, anxious, or feeling stiff. When you engage in deeper, diaphragmatic breathing, you flood your blood with oxygen, help regulate your heart rate, and even calm stress signals in your brain. Pair that breathing with light stretches or joint rotations and you amplify the benefits. You're not just loosening your muscles, you're sending your brain a powerful message of safety and calm. For me, each inhale felt like drawing in a new supply of energy, and each exhale felt like releasing a little bit of the tension I'd been carrying. A friend of mine, Thomas, had spent most of his life working on his feet. When he retired at 70, he looked forward to resting, but soon he realized his knees were stiffening, and his lower back had become a constant source of pain. He was used to ignoring discomfort, but after a few years of living that way, he found himself avoiding social gatherings and simple errands. I told him about the 2-minute approach, and he shot me a look that said, "Surely you can't be serious." In his mind, a real solution had to be bigger and more demanding. Yet he was game to try anything once. On day 1, he used the back of a chair for balance, while he lifted 1 foot at a time to do gentle knee bends. Then he rolled up onto the balls of his feet and slowly lowered himself back down. Before the timer ended, he lifted his arms overhead, took a deep breath, and lowered his arms as he exhaled. It seemed like nothing, but the next day he realized that the twinge in his back was slightly reduced. By the end of the first week, he was telling me he felt looser, which for him was a big accomplishment. He even joked that he caught himself humming in the morning, something he hadn't done in ages. If you've been listening so far and thinking I can't do this because I have a chronic condition or I've never been flexible, remember that you can tailor these 2 minutes to your body's needs. If standing is challenging, start by sitting in a stable chair. Roll your shoulders, circle your ankles, wiggle your toes, and shift your torso from side to side. Add in that deep breathing and you're still sending positive signals to your muscles, joints, and circulation. You can gradually add or adjust movements as you become more comfortable. The point is not to strain yourself, but to invite gentle motion into your life each day. Some people wonder how to figure out which movements are best for them. The truth is, there's no single best routine for everyone. The magic lies in the act of doing something consistently, not in the precise movements themselves. But if you need ideas, you can start with very gentle neck rolls, shoulder shrugs, arm circles, and slow marching in place if possible. Even small rotations of the wrists and ankles help. As you notice a difference, you can add a light stretch for the hamstrings or calves. The goal is to wake up your body from head to toe in as little as 2 minutes. Once you experience the payoff, being able to stand up more easily or walk a few extra steps without discomfort, You'll know which movements your body appreciates the most. This is also about mindset. We often look at the clock and think we have no time for ourselves, but if you're honest, you'll realize that 2 minutes is less time than it takes to scroll through a few social media posts. If you can prioritize 2 minutes for your health, you're setting a powerful tone for the rest of the day. It's a reminder that aging doesn't mean surrendering to discomfort and limitations. It's a nudge to yourself that you can still do something positive for your body, no matter how small it may seem. There's another benefit many people don't realize at first. Committing to these 2-minute habits can spark a broader wave of healthy decisions. When you start feeling just a little more flexible or less burdened by pain, you might find yourself making better food choices, drinking more water, or getting outside for fresh air. A friend of mine started pairing her 2-minute routine with a daily glass of water before breakfast, and soon she was drinking more water throughout the day. She told me it felt natural, like her body was asking for a bit more self-care once she'd started giving it even a little. It's as if these small, consistent actions send a message that you're worthy of feeling better, and that mindset spreads to other aspects of your life. I remember a night when I couldn't fall asleep because my legs felt restless. Instead of lying there frustrated, I got up and decided to do some slow knee lifts, followed by deep, measured breathing for exactly 2 minutes. By the time I finished, my legs felt calmer and my mind felt more at ease. I climbed back into bed and realized that, even in the middle of the night, a short burst of mindful motion could reset my comfort level. It was a quiet triumph, a simple but powerful reminder that these habits are not just for the morning. You can use them anytime you need a quick reset, whether it's afternoon fatigue, post-lunch sluggishness, or bedtime tension. If you're still watching and believe in the possibility of feeling better no matter your age, leave a comment that says, "I'm ready." That phrase is your first step. It tells me, and it tells you, that you're open to trying something new, even if it flies in the face of what society says about aging. If you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do that, because the journey to better living at 70, 80, or beyond is so much more rewarding when you have a supportive community and steady reminders that you're not alone. Let's talk about the deeper reasons this works, beyond muscle movement. A lot of seniors grapple with the feeling that each day is just another tick of the clock, another slow drift toward the inevitable. That mindset can be paralyzing, leading us to think there's no point in trying. 2-minute habits become a gentle protest against that resignation. They prove that you still have the power to choose progress, however modest it may be. That psychological boost is priceless. It floods your mental space with the idea that tomorrow can be a little better than today, that small victories do add up to something meaningful. Have you ever noticed how children and young adults move about without hesitation, as if their bodies are simply an extension of their will? They jump, twist, run, and dance because their joints are lubricated with life, and their muscles respond effortlessly. Over time, the accumulation of stress, injury, and inactivity can cause us to lose that carefree movement. But here's the beautiful part. While we may never move exactly as we did in our youth, we can recapture a fraction of that freedom. Sometimes, that fraction is enough to make the difference between feeling trapped in our own bodies and feeling free enough to enjoy what each day brings. I'd be lying if I said there weren't days when I still feel stiff or tired. Aging is real, and it does change our bodies. But the difference now is that I know what to do when those moments hit. Instead of giving up or blaming my age, I step aside for 2 minutes, maybe in my living room, maybe in the hallway, and do my little routine. 9 times out of 10, it eases the discomfort enough that I can move forward with my day. That sense of control over how I feel, even if it's partial, is immensely empowering. People often assume they need to join a gym or follow a specialized exercise program to feel a difference in their bodies, and some do enjoy that route. But what happens when life gets in the way, or when you just don't have the mobility, energy, or finances for that? 2-minute habits are always accessible. You don't need an appointment, special clothes, or fancy equipment. Your living room, a chair, and a bit of willpower are all it takes. This removes the barriers that often stop us from starting, letting us focus on actually doing the work rather than planning to do it. That's another secret of making daily changes stick. Remove as many obstacles as possible. Once a habit requires specialized tools or an extra trip out of the house, it's much easier to skip it when your motivation dips. But 2 minutes in your pajamas, right next to your bed, doesn't give you many excuses. You might even laugh at how little it takes to begin feeling better. If you're wondering how to stay consistent, one trick is to tie your new habit to something you already do. Maybe you always start your morning by putting on the kettle for tea or coffee. While the water heats, set a timer for 2 minutes. Do gentle arm circles, roll your shoulders, stretch your calves, and breathe deeply. By the time your beverage is ready, you've already given your body a mini wake-up call. Another approach is to schedule a reminder on your phone or place a sticky note where you'll see it, like on the bathroom mirror. The key is to treat it like a non-negotiable, just as you would brushing your teeth or locking your door before bed. It's funny how life changes once you unlock that door of possibility. Suddenly, you're not dreading the day. You look forward to the small victories that come with being a little more mobile, a bit more comfortable, or slightly more energized. You might even start inspiring the people around you. Your spouse, friends, or neighbors might notice that you're moving more freely or that you're in a brighter mood. This can create a ripple effect as they ask what you've been doing and decide to try it themselves. It's a beautiful thing when one person's subtle change sparks a chain reaction in others. Let's take a moment to talk about motivation. You might still be thinking, I understand the logic, but how do I keep going on the days I just don't feel like it? That's the magic of 2 minutes. There have been days when I woke up feeling grumpy or weighed down by worry, but I could never justify skipping something that only takes 2 minutes. It's easier to push through the mental barrier when the commitment is that small. Often the hardest part of any positive change is starting, but when the start requires so little, it's harder to make an excuse. And once you begin, you might find yourself naturally doing a bit more because you already overcame that initial hurdle. If you're still watching right now, drop a comment that says 2 minutes is my start. That helps you publicly commit to trying this out, and you never know who else might see your comment and decide to join you. Community support, even in the form of online encouragement, can give you that extra push on days when motivation runs low. When I think back on how I felt 10 or 20 years ago, I'm sometimes startled at how much more alive I feel today, despite being older in calendar years. My sleep is better, my mood is lighter, and my sense of purpose has grown. You wouldn't think 2 minutes could be the catalyst for such profound shifts, but it was the springboard that launched me into a better relationship with my own body and mind. It reminded me that progress is possible at any stage of life. Sure, your version of progress at 84 might not look like it did at 24 or 44, but it can still be progress, and it can still bring immense satisfaction. Think of your body as a beloved old car that needs daily care to keep running smoothly. Letting it sit unused only ensures the engine seizes up and the tires go flat. A brief daily drive around the block, or even just starting the engine for a couple of minutes, can keep the systems functioning. It's the same principle with our bodies. We need that daily spark of movement to stay lubricated, engaged, and alive. This is especially crucial when moving into our later years, as our bodies require consistent signals that we still value and need them to function well. If you have family or friends who worry about you, doing these routines in front of them can also show them that you're taking proactive steps to maintain your health. It may even encourage them to join you. My grandson, who's only 12, sometimes mimics my little stretches when he sees me doing them in the living room. We end up giggling at each other, and it becomes a shared moment of connection, bridging the generation gap by showing younger people that aging isn't something to fear, but rather a stage where we can still seek small victories can be empowering to everyone involved. Let's imagine your life a few weeks from now if you start implementing these 2-minute habits today. You wake up in the morning feeling a little more optimistic, knowing you have a tool to shake off any stiffness. You find that you're not quite as breathless after climbing a few steps. Maybe you're more open to going for a short walk or spending time tidying the garden because your joints don't protest as strongly. Small tasks feel less like mountains to climb and more like gentle hills. You may discover that your mood lifts throughout the day, and you're more likely to pick up the phone and call a friend or family member. Instead of dreading your reflection in the mirror, you might notice an extra spark in your eyes, a reminder that you're actively participating in your own well-being. It's important to clarify that if you have significant health issues or concerns, you should speak to a medical professional before starting any new routine. I'm not a doctor, and this video is based on personal experience and the experiences of those close to me. However, many healthcare providers encourage gentle daily movement, especially if it helps improve circulation, reduce stiffness, and foster a more positive mindset. If you find yourself thinking, "I've tried everything," remember that sometimes we overlook the simplest solutions because they seem too small to matter. Yet those small steps often form the bedrock of lasting change. For me, feeling 45 again at 84 isn't about being unrealistic or denying my actual age. It's about unlocking a sense of vibrancy, curiosity, and strength that many people assume disappears after 70. I may have wrinkles and slower reflexes than I did decades ago, but I also have a more peaceful relationship with my own body and the unshakable knowledge that I can steer my health in a positive direction. Every new day is an invitation to care for yourself. If you accept that invitation in the form of these 2-minute habits, you may find that the narrative of what old age looks like begins to change in your mind. It's no longer a time of inevitable decline, but rather an opportunity to refine how you live, move, and think. Sure, we all have moments of frustration or weakness, but knowing there's a small, dependable practice that helps you reclaim a bit of vitality can make all the difference. If you've listened to all of this and feel that spark of hope, then I invite you to take immediate action. Right after you finish watching, stand up, if you can, and begin with the simplest motions. Roll your shoulders back 4 or 5 times, slowly twist your torso from side to side. Breathe in deeply through your nose, feeling your belly expand, then exhale through your mouth. Pay attention to the sensations in your body, even if you only do it for 2 minutes. You might feel a subtle shift, a bit of warmth, a slight relief in tension, or just a faint reminder that you're alive and capable of movement. Do the same thing tomorrow and the next day and the day after that. Keep it easy enough that you never dread starting. If you miss a day, don't beat yourself up. Just start again. Consistency, even if imperfect, is your ally here. Over time, you'll see that those daily 2 minutes add up to noticeable changes in how you feel and function. That is what happened for me, and I believe it can happen for you. If you're still with me, let me know by leaving a comment that says, "I'm all in for 2 minutes." This simple act tells the world that you refuse to settle for the tired narrative that seniors can't improve their well-being. It tells yourself that you're willing to experiment, learn, and grow. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so. Joining our community means you won't have to face this journey alone. You'll have the support of others who've discovered the power of small, consistent habits, and the reassurance that you're never too old to find a new rhythm in life. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate your willingness to explore new possibilities for your health and vitality. If you found this helpful, consider sharing it with someone you care about. You never know who might need just a glimmer of hope to start making positive changes. I look forward to hearing your stories of how these 2-minute habits brought more lightness, flexibility, and energy into your days. Until then, remember that feeling 45 again at 84 isn't about denying age. It's about embracing the chance to revitalize yourself in small, meaningful ways every single day. Take those 2 minutes for yourself and watch how they can transform not just your body, but your entire outlook on the future.